From the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Rick Johnson. Inside West Virginia Politics is brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State, and by Williamson Health and Wellness Center, working to open doors to broader health care in southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. Now, Inside West Virginia Politics.
Hello, and welcome to Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm Rick Johnson. Almost 1/3 of teenagers in this country has pre-diabetes, according to the CDC. Our first guest, Evan Worrell, Republican delegate here in West Virginia, in the West Virginia House of Delegates, and he's also chairman of the Health and Human Resources Committee. That's what he says that is not acceptable, just can't have that. And we're going to welcome him to the program and dig a little bit deeper. Evan, welcome.
Thanks, Rick. Glad to be here.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I read the release that came out, I think, from the House of Delegates about upcoming session, and a couple of things that you're very concerned about and you want to continue to address, and that is children's health here in the state of West Virginia, especially, I guess, when you look at the national figures again, like about 1/3 of American teenagers have pre-diabetes. Yeah. And I'm guessing it might be a little higher here in the state of West Virginia.
I would guess so as well. Of course, we have one of the highest obesity rates in the country as well, and have a lot of high chronic disease. And I think we need to start with that generation, right? The generation of our teenagers in middle school and high schoolers, to educate and inform them appropriately what correct nutritional standards are.
So before we get into that, again, let's mention also that out of your committee, that's where the ban on dyes became national news. Yeah. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the emphasis was looking at a documentary called To Die For, and really kind of opened my eyes. My wife had known about it for a couple of years on these synthetic food dyes. And as I did more research, realized they were really only just for color, not taste, not anything else, and they were actually harmful, carcinogenic effects. So I told the governor before session started we were going to come after some of these food dyes. And I'll be honest, when we started it was kind of what I thought would be a baby step, just the first little step forward. And as you mentioned, nationwide, it's become kind of a big deal, which is a great thing. And I'm happy to say that West Virginia led the way on that effort.
And now you want the same sort of level of fight, if you will, against childhood diabetes and all the things that go with that. You want us to become the national leader in that area as well.
Yeah, and I think we can. I mean, we're a small state. We could have good measured outcomes, but additionally, this is a state we need to turn around in. Like I said, we have some high chronic disease rates, high obesity rates, and I think we can do that here, but we got to focus on that next generation, because I'm not trying to ban anything from consumers' choices, but at the same time, children don't have the option of the school food that's put in front of them. We want to make sure we're going after that school food and ensure that they have healthier options and that they're educated and informed as to why they would choose healthier options.
So that's kind of where it begins, doesn't it? Yeah. At the school level, with whatever they're serving in the cafeterias, you're saying we can do a lot better?
We really can. I mean, a lot of the ultra-processed foods, you see pizza sticks, muffins, high sugar, and that's all the kids know better. They don't get to read labels, things of that nature. And so I think it's time that we look into different avenues where we can have whole foods as opposed to processed foods, and want to do that through a multitude of initiatives. One of them would be doing, farm to school lunch menus, where we're empowering our school boards and our nutritionists to work with local producers and local agricultural producers and farmers to provide that, just real food, right, inside of our school system.
Do you find at times, though, I think we've kind of gone down this road of a time or two before, and there was resistance, if you will, from various factions. If we can't afford that, we can't do that, it's not practical, the kids will never eat it. So do you anticipate that some of that could
we've heard those same old arguments before. The kids are going to throw it away and things of that nature. But I think part of that is because we need to educate and inform them as to why. So that needs to be part of the school curriculum, is that we're educating them as to choose healthier options. And additionally, I think there are good meals, there are good whole foods out there that aren't processed that kids enjoy. I know my kids do, and they're picky eaters, okay? But we choose whole foods and we make sure we prepare them correctly. Additionally, we'd also be empowering some of our local producers in the local economy, which in some of our food deserts across the state would be nothing but beneficial for our areas, our communities as well.
As I read this, it is let's say the initiatives are healthy schools for healthy futures and active Active Kids for Strong Communities.
That's right, yeah. So Healthy Schools for Healthy Futures, that's part of our school lunch menus and things, ways that we can push out the ultra-processed food. And like I said, integrate with those, maybe some grants or incentive funds to work with local producers. And in the Active Kids for Strong Communities, physical exercise is extremely important. You and I both know that. There's plenty of data and studies that show not only does it, your endorphins increase, makes you happier, your mental fatigue. I mean, just there's so many benefits. And I think ultimately what this enables is that we'll have, I don't want to say that we have a problem. We do have some behavioral issues, but better behavior in schools, we'll have better focus in schools if we can look at providing better physical exercise. So one of the things I've looked at is how can we create some sort of grant program where local schools can put in walking trails, better playground equipment, outdoor learning environments, which I know they've done in Cabell County, which is where I'm from. But I'd love to see a Mountaineer Mile, at one of these schools, like we've seen the governor do a Mountaineer Mile at State Park. I'd love to see that at a school system.
Evan, good luck.
Yeah.
We wish you the best. We really do.
Thank you, Rick.
And I want to have you back.
Yes, I'd love
so we
to
can talk
report
about
back.
this more. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
That's Delegate Evan Morrell, and he is with the West Virginia House of Delegates. And we're going to take a quick break and be right back with more of Inside West Virginia Politics. Welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. West Virginia Attorney General J.B. McCuskey announced the United States Supreme Court has agreed to hear State of West Virginia versus BPJ. It's about a challenge to the state's Save Women's Sports Act. And we welcome to Inside West Virginia Politics Attorney General J.B. McCuskey.
It's great to see you again, my friend. Thank you for having us.
Great to see you, looking good, and it's nice to have you back in with us.
Well, we've got a lot going on, so I'm happy to be here to talk to you about it.
You absolutely do. Could you give us some of the details about this this case, please?
Yeah, so the BPJ case, like you just said, is going to be at the United States Supreme Court in January of next year. And so that means that we've got about 6 really hard months of work to prepare for a Supreme Court argument, which is sort of unlike anything else in the law. It's sort of the Super Bowl of legal argument. And so my solicitor, Michael Williams, will spend the next 6 months doing moot courts and just preparing every single argument that could possibly be made against us so that he's ready to answer all the justices' questions. But the fundamental aspect of this case is that the legislature passed a law called the Save Women's Sports Act. And what that law does is it makes sure that women and girls are playing sports against people that share their biological characteristics. The idea being that it is unfair for masculine or male children to be playing sports against females. And that just makes sense. It's a simple, rational argument that the legislature has every right to do and should have done. And after the law was passed, a student athlete in West Virginia filed suit claiming that that law was unconstitutional. And we've been fighting it through the district and the circuit court levels, and we've now reached the United States Supreme Court, where after the Fourth Circuit, which is the circuit where West Virginia sits, had decided that our law was unconstitutional. So we are trying to overturn what the Fourth Circuit has said and allow our Save Women's Sports Act in West Virginia to be fully implemented, and to ensure that every girl and every woman in West Virginia that's getting up in the morning at 6 a.m. right now getting ready for sports season knows that when they get out on the playing field, they're going to showcase their talents against people that share their physical characteristics and is in a way that is fair and safe.
Whichever way this is decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, will it be a precedent-setting decision, or is it specific to this case?
It's both. But I think more than anything, what we're seeing, especially in our national politics, when you look at what's happening at the University of Pennsylvania and the letter that we sent to the NCAA, is that we've sort of reached a critical moment where common sense is returning to the sports arena. And it is absolutely common sense that men should not be playing sports against women in places where it matters, right? This is going to result, if we're allowed to continue down this path, and if the Fourth Circuit's argument is allowed to continue, the ideals of Title IX will start to be eroded. And the NIL possibilities and the professional sports contracts and the college scholarships opportunities that are designed for women will start to be taken by biological men, and that's unfair. It's not just unfair from a economic standpoint, as we just discussed, but it's unfair from an athletic standpoint. I was a fairly competitive athlete growing up, and all a real athlete wants is the opportunity to win in a way that's fair. And this gets us back to that concept.
And so you mentioned a letter that I think was sent by not only you but other attorneys general
Yes.
in the country
Yeah.
to the NCAA that sort of parallels this case. And tell us about the letter.
Yeah, so for years the NCAA has sort of taken a hands-off approach to what is a growing problem. And we've seen it in volleyball, and we've seen it in swimming, and we've seen it in golf and various other athletic endeavors at the NCAA level where biological males are taking records and trophies away from biological women. And what we've done is we've asked the NCAA to go back and remedy that wrong. We've said, look, you can't allow biological men to take these prizes and these records away from biological women. And you need to go back and you need to re-award all of these titles to the biological female that finished second in all of these endeavors. And we think that makes sense. The University of Pennsylvania has recently already done that. The story of Leah Thomas is pretty well known, a biological male swimmer who defeated a woman named Riley Gaines, who'd spent her entire life becoming one of the greatest women swimmers in the country. And the University of Pennsylvania said, yeah, we are going to go back and we're going to re-award all of these records and all of these prizes to the female swimmers that were defeated by the biological male.
And once again, when is the case going before the Supreme Court?
It's first thing in January. We will have our argument, but that doesn't mean that we don't have briefing schedules and a myriad of just incredibly hard work defending this law up until then. And we feel really great about our chances of winning. Not just because we have the right side of the argument, but we have the best lawyers in the whole country.
Attorney General J.B. McCuskey, thank you
very
for
much.
being here.
It's great to
Appreciate
see you,
it.
my friend.
We'll take a break and be right back on Inside West Virginia Politics. Welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. The Public Service Commission of West Virginia has ordered an independent audit into the reliability of service provided to customers of two major electric producers in the state of West Virginia. And to explain this to us, we have the chairman of the Public Service Commission with us now. That's Charlotte Lane. Commissioner Lane, welcome to Inside West Virginia Politics.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Hey, tell us just a little bit about the sort of the timeline here of how this all came about and the two companies that are involved.
The two companies that are involved are Appalachian Power and Wheeling Power. And this results from, we had been concerned for some time about how long it takes Appalachian Power and Wheeling to get their customers back in service if there is an outage. Now, we understand that when there are big storms, that outages will be out for a while. And that's not really what we're most concerned about. We're most concerned about these intermittent outages that customers have, and then how long it takes to get back in service. And we've been working with Appalachian Power and Wheeling Power for some time to try to get them to get their customers back in service faster, but it hasn't really happened. And so we worked with the company to agree to this independent audit that we will have an outside firm come in and look to see why it is taking so long in some instances to get the customers back in service. And what we're asking the independent audit to look at are the staffing levels of the utilities, the service centers, how these service centers are manned, and just looking for opportunities on where we can get these get the customers back in service faster. And so that's what we're doing. And first of all, we're having to put out a bid proposal, and then once the bid proposal is in, Appalachian, there will be a firm picked to do this audit, and then we want the audit report done by and back to the commission by December 31st.
What role does the public play in any of this, if any at all?
Well, when we have public hearings, in addition to people being interested in rate cases, they also talk about service that they are receiving. And so we have heard from customers about the frequency of outages and how long it takes to get back in. service. And one of the things that the legislature did this year, which reinforces what the commission had always done, is that utilities have to now notify their customers if there's going to be an outage and what the expected outage time will be, and when it's expected to get service back to the customers. And so we're very excited about that new tool that customers have, that they will be notified now when these outages occur.
So, as I understand this, there is full compliance from the two electric companies, correct?
Yes, they've been concerned also about the statistics, which are not really very, very good. And so we have been working on this for some time, and then we finally decided that the best way of addressing this is having an outside firm come in, look at how they handle their outages, how much staffing they have, and how they deploy the staff, and make recommendations to the company as to how they can improve their service. And so we're very excited about this report.
It does sound promising, and I want to, because we're almost out of time, where can one find more information? I'm going to guess it's your website, which is psc.state.wv.us.
Yes, that's exactly right. And if people can't remember that long website, all they have to do is Google WVPSC, and they will find where they can go to get more information.
Chairman Charlotte Lane of the Public Service Commission, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll take a break and be right back with more of Inside West Virginia Politics.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. As we close, we're going to take you to Senator Shelley Moore Capito's call-in press briefing this week. Reporters from around the state call in questions for the senator. We'll be featuring two of those questions and answers. We start with the senator answering a question about frozen funding for after-school programs in the state. Then my question about federal funding for repairing the Fort Hill Bridge in Charleston, one of the most traveled bridges in the state.
The short answer is yes, we're continuing to work. In the letter that I sent that had 9 other senators signing on, 9 other Republican senators signing on, asking for release of these funds, we enumerated all of the different buckets that were still yet to be released. One of which adult basic ed is one of the ones that I, in specific, have concerns about. We're asking people to go to work. We're asking people, a lot of times jobs require a high school diploma. Sometimes people don't make it all the way through high school. So this adult basic ed is really important, as are all the other programs. And so, the reason I think this after-school program was so vitally important to get out the doors, because people have to start planning, because school's getting ready to start here in several weeks. But we're keeping to working on putting our pedal to the metal for the rest of the programs. This is money that's been appropriated. It needs to go out to the appropriate entities to continue those education enhancements.
And our last question is Rick Johnson with WOWK.
Good afternoon, Senator. I'm just going to ask about the Earl Carter Memorial Bridge. We also may call it the Fort Hill Bridge here in Charleston. Seems to be recently plagued with patching potholes on the surface of the deck, if you will, of the bridge, causing traffic to back up for literally miles.
Oh.
It's one of the most traveled spans in the state, and this is absolutely no knock on the Department of Highways, DOT workers. They're doing a really good job as far as getting out there and working on this. But is there and will there be federal funding coming for the Big Blue Bridge at some point to help really fix this problem?
Well, it's interesting, the question, because I have been passionate in the last highway reauthorization and the one coming up that it expires in September of 2026, and I actually do this through my committee, to set aside extra money for bridges. And that formula program, and there's a discretionary grant program that goes out as well. West Virginia needs to make sure that they're maxing out here. If you drive up 79, you'll see the bridge work that's being done on those bridges as you're moving through Clarksburg and up into Fairmont. that is a result of those bridge dollars that we've been able to get for West Virginia. So you have to maintain your highways. I mean, that's, and no knock on our DOT workers. That is I must go over that bridge 10 times every day when I'm home at a minimum. So I know how busy it is. And I've been stuck in traffic too, so I know how frustrating that is. So I would say there's no emergency funding that would be available, but the DOT has more federal dollars than they've had probably in the last 10 years, at least in the pipeline. And, the governor, I think, working with us and others, we want to make sure we maximize the bridge dollars that we get. So here's a quiz for you. Do you know who Eugene A. Carter is?
I know that. No, I do not.
I didn't know either. I didn't know either, but I looked it up. You know, he was the first head of the Teamsters Union. He drove a dairy truck, and he was first head of the Teamsters Union. And in 2005, Brooks McCabe and Dan Foster renamed the bridge the Eugene A. Carter Bridge, because I always called it the Fort Hill Bridge, like you just did too.
Yeah.
So there's a fun fact for you.
Thank you for watching. And don't forget to listen to our podcast where you get your podcasts. And join us next weekend for Inside West Virginia Politics.